we appreciate every single one of them. So
Wait,
yes,
can we start over?
yeah.
Because I had it on the wide and it looks better, like you
Just
single
him
instead
the
of us. Yeah.
introduction.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
okay. Yeah, I
yes.
can do that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
All right.
Hot. Hey, yo.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome one more time to another episode of the One with Friends podcast. Uh, Thank you guys for the support that you showed last episode. For the first episode, we saw major support. We appreciate the messages, the comments that we receive on YouTube, on Facebook. We appreciate every single one of them, and it pushes us through to improve and make sure that we're bringing this quality. We promise that we're gonna keep bringing them, being on time, and make sure that the quality improves even better. So for the second episode, we have another invited guest. She is part of the worship group in our church, and also she's part of the youth. So finally, we're gonna have for our first member from our church, we have our dear and good friend Odalys. Welcome to the episode. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
Glad to have you here. So just so you know, just we're just gonna have a normal conversation about your testimony. So don't feel, don't be nervous. You can say whatever you want. This is your episode.
Right.
This is your story. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for the invitation. I always, since a little child, I always wanted to, I've always told my mom, hey, I want to write a book about my story or like say what I've been through. And then this is a huge privilege for me to be here with you guys, sharing our story nationwide, like you said, Spotify, YouTube. It's a privilege. It's a honor for God as well.
Oh, thank you, thank you. No, actually, thank you because we asked you almost last minute. If I will say, we're sorry for that one. We had some other people that we had on mind, but unfortunately, they couldn't have the opportunity to be here. But we're gonna try to also still bringing them. But for now, let's get to it. So, I personally myself, I haven't heard your testimony per se. So this is what we're here for, and let's just start from the beginning.
Amen. What can I say? How do I start? By the age of 5 years old, well, I was born to begin with. I was born in West Palm. And at the age of two, we moved here to PSO. Since then, I was raised here. I lived here my whole life. And if you would ask me what rough road I had to live, it would be my childhood. It would be my childhood. I had difficulties having a happy childhood like other kids do. My mom I never met my dad. All I know from him is that he left when I was born. I've never had a conversation with him, nothing whatsoever with him at all. By the age when I was 1 year old, according to my mom, she met who is now the father of my two younger siblings. And from there, they had a relationship. They started living together. And I started to see him at first as a father figure. He was incredibly, he was a lovable person. I really loved him so much. But then as time went on, I don't know if it was because I wasn't his child or I don't know, but as time went on, he started changing very drastically. He stopped being the person who he was at first. By the age as I was already 5 years old, I remember I could not play with dolls. I could not even be on a couch in my living room all how peacefully, because if I was doing nothing, he would get mad at me for no reason. And it went on. That's how it all started. As time went on, I was already going to kindergarten, and I don't even know how to say it, but he started being very abusive towards me. And I lived like that for almost 5 to 7 years, where
Oh wow.
from kindergarten to like fourth, third grade. It was bad. It was bad. Oh God.
When you say abusive, well, what we're talking like, just random beatings for like no reason. Like when you say physical abuse,
Yes.
or was more like verbal.
It was everything. It was verbal, physically, mentally abuse. He would give me like third grade, fourth grade homework at for a kindergarten.
Okay.
And if I did not complete it, if I did not do it, he would like hurt me and like leave me bruise marks. And same thing towards my mom. My mom wouldn't do anything. My mom never found out until a certain point because she would always work at night. And as I was growing with him, I started to fear men, and I started to see the empowerment that men have, when in reality it's not like that.
Right.
I remember one occasion when my mom was pregnant by, I believe, my little brother. We were all sleeping in the master room because we all slept together.
Right.
And all of a sudden I hear my mom yell and like start screaming and crying. And when I wake up, like my mom was like already 8 months pregnant, huge. Like her stomach was huge. And all of a sudden I see him like hit her out of nowhere. And I'm like, wait, what? And as a child, that starts like
Right.
starts growing in you, like the hate, the anger, and like sadness. And I remember going under my blanket and crying and crying and crying. And that's at a young age, that's when I started to experience what hate was. Not towards myself, not towards my mom, but also towards God.
Oh, okay.
Towards God, because I would say, God, how, because I was born and raised in the Christianity.
Okay.
Forever. And I would hear preachers and prayers of like, oh, God is love, God will surrender you, God will protect you, right? And then as time went on, I was like, if you're God of love, why are you letting me go through this? Why you're making me suffer?
Wow. Very young.
Very, very, very young.
Wow.
Yeah, a very young age. And this is the age my daughter is now, 5 years old. And by the time I was already in third grade, my mom sent me to school like that. And I remember this night, he made me clean the whole entire house. It was already 10 p.m. My mom was working at night. And I remember I had a desk in the living room. And he gave me like 4 or 5 pages of homework to do.
Wow.
Of a higher level. And I'm like, how am I going to do it? Reading chapter books. And then for a third grade, yes.
Wow.
And our third grade was already hard third grade is hard no matter what. And then on top of that, I had to clean the house. I remember my brother, he was the baby still. And I had to wash his bottles and do what corresponds to an older woman, right? Not for a young girl to do.
Right.
And then as the night went on, he went to sleep. Everybody went to sleep. I knocked out. At my desk, I had like my head bowing down. I knocked out, and all of a sudden, like he like yanks my head. I'm like, oh, that's when I started panicking because I knew what was coming on. I knew what was going on, and then he starts hitting me. He's like, this is not what I told you to do. I told you to clean. I told you to do your homework, to wash your brother's bottles, and feed him if he's crying. And I started crying there. I was like, there's nobody here to defend me. Nobody
So
here.
let me ask you, where was your mom during all this abuse?
It will happen mostly at night. So she was working.
Oh, okay.
So she was working, but it also went towards her. Therefore, whether or not he would hit me, he would hit my mom. And my mom could not do anything because she was also afraid.
Right.
And people around her would tell her, don't call the police because you're the one who's going to go to jail. And you're the one who is going to be taken away from the kids. And he's going to be the one with all your children and you're losing everything. So my mom just got afraid and never did anything.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and she never did anything because she was also afraid for him, like from him. She didn't know what to do either. I had one of my uncles also living with us. He would defend us, but it wouldn't do much. It was also a chaos at home. And that night, I did what he told me to do. I washed my brother's bottles. I was crying. I had very, very, very thick and black long hair. And it was already 4 a.m. I had to go to school that same day. And then I hear like my mom coming through the driveway. And then she walks in and she's like, "What are you doing here awake at this time?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing. My brother's just crying and I didn't want to wake up his dad. So I just decided to make his milk." And she's like, "No, like something is suspicious here."
Right.
And so I don't know how she decides to grab my hair and like pulls it all back. When she saw the amount of hair, it was like literally like about this much of my hair that he had pulled. And she starts crying and crying and crying, and I start crying right there. And I'm like, she's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Well, he just wanted me to do that." And she's like, "That's why he did all that?" Oh, and I remember that night was bad as well. But she hadn't seen my ears because he also pulled my ears, and he had long nails. And each time he would pull my ears, it's not like pulling, it's like pinching.
Wow.
And she didn't see it. And then they got into an argument. I just knocked out in the living room. I left them there because I had enough.
Right.
And that same morning, I woke up to get ready to go to school, drop off my sister to VPK, and then my mom would drop me off. And then she starts doing my hair. When she sees on my left ear, like already like, how do you say in child? Swelling. Very swollen, purple, and like discharge coming out. And she's like, "What happened here?" I was like, "Well, he just pulled my ear." And then he calls him. He's like, "Why would you this? Why would you do that?" And again, he said, "Well, she's not obeying. She's not listening." And I went to school like that. We were doing what at that time it was known the benchmarks, benchmarks test.
Yeah.
And then we were doing that, and then I don't know how my teacher goes, "Odalys, come to the teacher meeting room. I need to speak to you."
Right.
And then when they call you, it's because you supposedly do something wrong.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh no, what did I do?" And then I was like trying to think, I didn't do anything wrong. And then so I just went, and she's like, "Is everything okay at home?" I'm like, "Yes, everything is okay." She's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm positive. We're like a happy family."
Right.
And then she goes like, "Okay." And same thing. She pulls my hair and she sees my ears. And she's like, "What happened to you there?" I'm like, "Well, I just fell down." Wow. And she goes like, "Oh, okay. You can go back to your seat." And she stayed there. And a few minutes later, through the speaker that they have in the classrooms, they go like, "Odalys, please come to the principal's office." And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? The principal's office?
Yeah.
That's for the bad students. And then I was like, okay. And I asked her, what did I do? She's like, "Don't worry, everything is fine." I was like, okay. And I went there towards the principal's office. And when I went there, I literally saw like 4 to 5 cops with 3 social workers, and they were all sitting in a table, and they were like starting to interview me. "What's your name? Who do you live with? Who is David?" Because that was my younger sibling's father. And then gathering information, and they start checking my whole body. They started seeing bruises on my legs, on my back, on my arms, and my ears. And they go, "Are you going through physical abuse?" I'm like, "Yes, I am. And then so is my mom as well. And then they're like, "Oh, really?" And trying to get the whole story out of me. And I spilled the beans. And then they go like, "Where do you live?" And at that time I lived like down the street to school. Like it's that third house down the road. And then they're like, "Is your mom home?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's home." And then I started to get panic. I was like, "Oh no, what are you guys gonna do to my mom?" And then they go like, nothing. Don't worry about it. We're just
Right.
gonna see if she's okay. And I was already traumatized. I was like, if they steal my mom away from me, I'm not gonna live well. And then they went to visit her, and my mom says once they got there, they were searching for him, for David. At that time, he was working, mowing the lawn. And when they went to find him, he wasn't there where he was supposed to be. And then so that afternoon, once I got home from school and he got home from work, we all were there, and they started knocking on the door. And then my mom goes like, "Who could it be?" And it was all the people that were at school. I was like, I got scared because I was like, it's my fault, and he's gonna get mad at me, and I know what's gonna happen afterwards.
Right.
And then they started talking, and a social worker, she took me to a different room at my house. She's like, "Are you feeling okay? Do you feel safe?" I was like, "No, I do not feel safe, because I cannot even play with dolls. I cannot play with my siblings freely, because if I do, I know what's gonna happen. Like, I did not have that nice childhood
Right.
like other people do have."
Right.
And they spoke to him, and days went by. He kept doing the same thing. Nothing changed. Nothing
Wow.
changed.
That's crazy.
And then I spoke up again to my teacher. By then, a social worker would come and see me, because I was like mentally like done.
Right.
Like I had like, I feel like I wanted to die. But at that time, I was already 8 years old.
Wow.
And I wanted to like die, because I was like, why am I living? And I remember going outside the door, sitting on the grass, and I remember yelling to God, "God, why did you allow me to come to this world if you knew I was gonna suffer?
Right.
You should have not brought me here if this was gonna be my life.
Right.
Out of many children that there is in this world, why me? Why me? Why allow me see how this person hits my mom, how this person destroys me as a young child? There's no need." And hate kept growing and growing. I didn't know what love was. And anger, a lot of anger inside me.
Right.
And then they all came back again, the cops, social workers, therapists, psychologists. They said, "Hey, you have 3 strikes. By the 3rd strike, if you still hit both of them, we're taking you away." And then it kept going. And by the 3rd time, my mom, I remember it was a Saturday. During the day, she went to for grocery shopping. It was my sister and she took my little brother. And we were playing freely because he was sleeping. So I told my sister, "Hey, Brenda, go see if the door is locked." And she's like, "No, it's open." I was like, "Okay, close it and lock it and come here quick to the living room and let's play for a little."
Okay.
And then once we're done playing, well, we do what he told us to do. And then she goes like, okay. And we started playing students and teachers. And we remember we had a whiteboard in the living room, and we had a Sharpie, not an erase marker, a Sharpie. And I don't know how we started writing on the board, writing on the walls.
Oh man.
And we didn't even think about it, because it was like a moment of fun.
Yeah, because you guys are childs.
Right. And we were like having fun at that moment. We didn't even think, we forgot about him. And when I heard the door unlocking and opening, I'm like, "Oh, here he comes. And then I tried to erase it. I was like, "No, it's not erasing. And then he goes like, "What are you guys doing?" And then I'm like, "We're just playing." I remember grabbing my sister. In order for him not to hit her, I put her behind me. I was like, "Oh no, we're just playing around teachers and students." And he goes like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Well, I wrote on it. I thinking it was erase marker." She's like, "Okay." When he went to the kitchen, I thought he'd like let it pass. But when I saw he brought one of those big wooden spoons that my mom had, I was like, "No, not again." And I grabbed my sister tight on the bag. I was like, "You stay here, do not move."
Right.
And I remember the same side, the left arm. He started hitting, where to the point where I didn't even feel my arm. Like it was like completely numb. Like all here was purple. And then his belt, he started hitting me on my back, and he did hit my sister as well, but not as bad as it was towards me. And like I say, like I was saying, I don't know if it's because I wasn't his daughter.
Right.
I don't know what that hate was towards me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we left it like that, and he went back like nothing, like he didn't do anything.
Oh my goodness.
And then my mom came a few hours past. She came in, and then I told my mom, this happened. Like I went straight towards her, and she saw how bad my arm was. Like it was already black and purple. She was like, okay, hang on here. And she went outside, and I believe she called the cops, because moments after, the cops came and the social worker came. And that's when they started to interview me, what happened that morning, and my sister.
Right.
And then they started to interview him. And apparently, I'm told that he raised his voice towards a cop. And they're like, you know what? It shows like you don't care. So we're taking you. We're arresting you. And then my mom loved this man so much that my mom was crying. Like I tell her now, after all he did to us, the fact that you still love him is insane. And then she goes like, well, at that time I was just blind. And then I remember being so happy. My mom over here being so sad, and me being so happy.
Right.
Like freedom. Like I felt what freedom was for the first time in a long time. And he went to jail for a month and a half, and that's when I started to hate my siblings, because they were his children, especially my brother, because it's like copy and paste of him. Just like
they look alike.
Very alike.
Wow.
A lot. And then I started to like hit my siblings like he would hit me.
Oh, okay.
So I would do it back to them. And then I remember saying, be quiet, do not tell mom. If not, I'm gonna hit you guys even more the next time. And that's when I like didn't want to know anything about my family, about my mom, my siblings, God. Not even talk about him at that time.
Right.
And we still kept going to church. Our self-esteem, both my mom's and ours, were like to the floor. My mom was like heartbroken, so devastated because of what he did to us, and the fact that he loved him so much, but he did not treat her the same she expected to be treated. And so on and so forth. We start going to officially see a psychiatrist and psychologist. It didn't help as much. Like we were there for like a good 2 to 3 years, and the social workers were also coming to my school, helping to deal with it, but none of that helped. And now I understand why.
Yeah.
And years went on. I started to like hate men, see them in a different way. Like I could not allow men to yell at me, because it's like they're gonna hit me, like they're gonna do something wrong to me, and I let it be. And for many years I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get married. And having a girl was the last thing I ever wanted. I've always, after all my childhood I went through, I've always said, I don't ever want a girl, because if I ever have a girl, they're gonna come and suffer.
Yeah.
And
because you had the mindset they're gonna do it to
exactly.
Right.
And then years went on. We still kept going to church. Little by little, my mom's self-esteem was going up and up. She kept looking for God more. I was in the worship group, but it's different as I am now. Because back then, I would be in the worship group just because I enjoyed singing, but not because I enjoyed singing to the Lord. So it's two
like
different.
Actually, like worshiping.
Exactly, like by heart. And then I was in a worship group. My mom, her faith, her everything started to like grow better. Little by little, I was healing, but not yet completely.
Right.
And years went on, same thing. By the age of 14, I met who now is my husband.
Right.
And I'm 21 years old, just turned 21 this past Sunday. And I wanted to experience something else. Like, I wanted to feel what love was at a very young age, 14 years old,
14 years old
experience
is
what
very
love,
young.
yeah.
That's very young.
And to experience what love is, because I've never had a father figure. And it was weird. It was so weird and off for me to
Right.
see a family with a father figure. That was so odd for me, because I'm like, what is it having a dad? What is it having a hug, a kiss from a dad? Or what is it, a word saying I love you from a dad? It
Right.
was weird for me. And like, it was, at that time, it was nasty, because I had no idea what that was. Like, I
Right.
never met my dad. My childhood was just awful. Like, physical abuse, mental abuse. I was called bad words at a very young age. I was
Right.
told, you're not worth nothing. You're just a
Yeah.
piece of trash.
Yeah, like all that abuse just kind of kept growing.
Oh
with you.
yeah, it kept
So
growing.
let us backtrack. So you said that you know, that kind of like all that hatred and all the moment came towards your brothers. We're talking about a very young age still,
Very,
like
yeah.
like around 8
A,
years old.
like from the age to 6 to 10.
So it's kind of like, but what was, maybe I don't want to like put your mom, but like, how was your relationship with your mom throughout that abuse that you were experiencing? Like, were you guys like, how can I say this better? Like, were you guys kind of like supporting each other? Or what was like the environment whenever you and your mom got to engage with each other?
Good question, because each time it was summertime or winter break or Thanksgiving break,
Right.
or I didn't go to school the weekends,
Right.
and she wouldn't work, and he was working, those were like the beautiful moments ever. I was able to play. I was able to do stuff freely. Me and her would like interact even more. We would go to the stores like we had nothing to worry about.
Right.
She would play with me outside, hide and seek. She would do stuff that he wouldn't do, exactly. Right. And with her, during those times where he was not present, it was like I don't know how even to explain it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, because it was the relief that you were not receiving any abuse. There was no verbal anything. It was just pretty much, you know, the freedom, the be able to be a child at the moment,
right,
and experiencing that.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
So, and tell me, you said that you met your now that is your husband. How was that? You know, because you said that you had a hatred for men.
Right.
How the transition went?
Because I wanted to do the opposite to a man.
Oh, so you wanted. Oh, okay.
So I wanted
right.
whatever I received to do it to a male, so he could feel what I felt.
Through. Right.
And also at the same time, I wanted to have like a love of a male person. So it's a weird combination.
Right.
It's a weird combination.
It's pretty much. It's kind of like you saying like, since it's kind of like you kind of like feeling that relief for even just for a little bit, knowing.
Right.
This is what I felt.
Right.
And you're gonna feel
right.
it. But at the same time, love me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was that okay,
Yes,
got it. So
yes.
continue, yeah.
And then from there, my mom would do, she has always done sell lunch. She would sell lunch to many, many guys, and one of them was my husband. And she starts selling food to him, and she says, "Oh, my daughter's the one cooking for you." And then he was like, "Oh, really?" And then they start talking. They start having a good relationship. And then I don't know how he got my phone number. He started texting me, and we started texting back. I was 14.
Right.
And then we were on like that for like 6 months. 2 to 3 months before I even turned 15, I was already pregnant.
Wow.
Without knowing I was pregnant. And my mom did the quinceañera. She did me a sweet 15.
Oh, wow.
And then I don't know,
Yeah, right.
right. And then
But at this age, you were on the worship group, correct?
I was still in the worship group.
Wow.
I was still in the worship group.
How old was he when? when you guys met?
Let's see. I was 14 when, and then he was like turning 16.
Oh, okay. So you
He
guys
was
were
turning. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's
And I was
Wow,
still in
okay.
the worship group, but like I said, I wasn't there by heart. I was there
Right.
just because I like to sing.
Mm,
Which
okay.
now I realize it was a huge
Hu-
mistake, because
right.
now like I understand,
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
could have backtracked, I wouldn't done certain things, and I would have changed certain things in my childhood
Mhm.
earlier.
Right.
And I got pregnant. My mom found out a week later after doing my big sweet 15. My little brother told him, and then that's when we all found out I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
As months went by, again, like I'm like I don't want nothing to do with him, and I don't want to be with a male, and I don't know what am I gonna do when I'm already pregnant. And then my mom goes like, well, you should have thought of things first.
Right.
And then
So how do your mom react to the news when she find out that?
oh, she was mad. I was like the only child who liked going to school,
Mhm.
who had accomplished a lot of things, who was an A and B honor roll.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
honor roll student, perfect attendance. I was like that one good student. Like
Right.
she would say, "Oh, she's like the best," and
Right.
then, and she was devastated. She was angry. She was mad, and she didn't even love my husband. She hated my husband at that time.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It
So
was-
how the interaction when after she found out? How was like the interaction after like the months after that?
At first, it was rough,
Mm-hmm.
but then we were already close.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that made us even more closer than what we were already. Like now, like people say you guys act like y'all are sisters. Like you
Right.
can't tell like you're a mom and daughter. And we were not. It worked very well. She got very, very close to me, and so did I. A stronger relationship. I can open up to her freely, talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
Not as I would back then, because
Right.
back then it's like I cannot trust nobody. I cannot trust no one. And it was like that type of not having confidence with people.
Got it. So, all right. So now that you were in the worship group, and then they found out that you were pregnant, how was like the reaction from?
Oh, it was bad. It was bad.
Mhm.
Not in the sense that I did wrong, but in the sense how they criticized me. My mom told them the day after. Obviously, she had to tell them.
Right.
I was in the worship group. There was no way I could. No
Right,
way.
right.
No way. And I remember the Tuesday that we had service, and the pastor called us, called me and my mom only into their office that they had. And then he goes like, I would have never expected this from you. I could have expected it from other people, but not from you. And then I remember he said, "You're like one of those prostitutes, those that do not worth." And yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. I was like, when mom looks at him, and then she goes like, "What are you saying?"
Mhm.
And then he says, "You're not worth anything. No long. Right now, you're no longer worth anything. You're not clean no more."
Right.
And then I remember those words stuck to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give up. I'm not even gonna try to look for God.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the church found out. And then they're like, oh my God, your life is ruined. You're not able to go to school. You ruined your life. What are you going to do now? You're going to be a mom at a very young age,
Yeah.
when you could be doing other stuff such as, what is it? Traveling, spending time with friends. You ruined it all.
Right.
And then I was like, instead of receiving help, receiving support, like, hey, you're not the only one, keep going, keep pushing. I didn't receive any, no words of
Whoa.
of those.
Okay. Knowing well that being pregnant at a young age, and also being at the altar was kind of like, his way to prevent kind of like sin in the church. Like he was kind of like tolerating it. What would you like at that moment? It's kind of like, yeah, we can see that it hurts, but at that moment, maybe now that you look at it later, how do you see it now? Like
now I'm like, I'm thankful.
mm-hmm,
Why? Because I was able to prove
mm-hmm,
to many people that my life was not over.
right,
That a chapter closed, but a new chapter opened.
correct. Amen.
A new journey started. A
Mhm.
new adventure started.
Mm-hmm.
And those words now help me. Okay, you said this, and this.
Right.
It made me grow. Made me mature even more. And many people look at me and you're like, you're 21, you're 20, and you're acting so mature for your age.
Right.
I think myself, if
It's
you
like,
only knew.
Yeah, if you only knew
If you
everything that I
only
had to
knew.
went through to
Exactly.
actually, because that's one of the things. Because some people just kind of like mature throughout the time, but some people are forced
To mature.
to mature at like early age, and I think that's what happened to you.
Yes.
So when you clarify, when you said that, when you mentioned that you guys separated, were you guys was still dating at the time, or you guys were actually married?
No, we were dating because
Okay.
I didn't want to get married at all. At all. Marriage was not a thing in my life whatsoever. Because in my family,
Mhm.
there is no couple that is married, and if there is, there's cheating. There's
okay, got it.
it's not like a formal
Mm-hmm.
a Christian marriage. There's
Right.
always something evil in it. So being married was a big no for me.
Right, because you were seeing everything that was happening with your family. It's kind of like, I don't want that to happen to me.
Exactly. And then my childhood, I'm like, why am I gonna get married for a
Mhm.
man to
Cheat on me.
cheat on me or to
Mm.
make me feel what I felt, see how a man can empower a woman and like make them like
Wow.
go
okay.
to the floor.
Got it. At that moment, the point of the talk, the reason why you guys decided to stay together was because of the kid, or was more like there was still feelings?
There
in the
was
relationship?
feelings, and it mainly because of the our baby.
Mhm.
Because this girl, she cannot live with her father, but it was also because we had feelings.
Yeah.
So my mom goes like, "Hey, try to work it out."
Right.
She was also encouraging me, because she at that time she already loved him. Like,
Right. She was already attached.
oh
to him.
yeah, very very attached to him.
Right.
And then she's like, it makes me sad what he did, but please try. I don't want you to have my life
Mhm.
where I was humiliated for many, many men. Because it was not only just from my two younger siblings, but
Right.
from my father as well. She told me she had a horrible life with him. And for previous relationships she has had.
Mhm.
And then she's like, please try. I know God wants something big, has something big in both of y'all.
Right.
And I was like, here you go again with God. Here you go
Mm.
again. And then she's like, no, please. And then that's when we started.
Talking it out.
Exactly.
And get back together.
And then I was like, okay. And I wasn't even at that time due when I was going to find out what I was going to have.
Mhm.
And I kept saying to myself, I do not want a girl. I do not want a girl.
Right. Because you don't want her to go to the same trauma that you did.
Exactly.
How was your relationship with God during that? Like, let's say, for example, when you were like saying that you were part of the worship group, how was like the relationship with God at that moment?
It was like, how can I say it? Like, it wasn't at a deeper level. It was just more like, God, I know you're real,
Right.
but like, do I trust you 100%? I don't know. Like, I was like lukewarm.
Right. One foot in, one
Yeah,
foot out.
yeah. Very lukewarm. Like, I don't want to know anything about God. I just knew I loved to sing.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that, I was like, you know what? I'm giving up. Your people are
Right.
telling me I'm not worth anything.
Right.
So it's fine. I'm going to step away and like give up.
Right.
Not even going to try, and let's see what happens on later on.
And then how was the reaction when they told you the gender of your
Right.
of your
I
baby?
remember telling the lady, it was a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling her, I was like, hey, if it's a girl, I beg you, do not tell me. Now, if it's a boy, please tell me.
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, why? Girls are like the prettiest. I was like, no, ma'am, I want a boy.
Right.
And then she didn't say anything. She goes like, you want to hear the heartbeat? I was like, yeah. And then when we started to hear the heartbeat, it was only my mom and I in that room. My husband didn't go because he was working. And then like something like changed in me. And then my mom goes like, what is it? And then the lady looks at me. She's like, you want to know? I'm like, it's a girl, right? She's like, it's a girl. Oh, my mom, like, she jumped of happiness. She's like, it's a girl. It's a girl. And I was like, it's a girl. That's like something
Right.
changed. It's a girl. Okay. And I was like, what am I going to do now? It's not a boy. But
Right.
then at that time, at that moment, I was like, you know what? I want to have the girl. And it went on. But mind you, let's backtrack because I'm going fast. I'm fasting forward.
That's fine.
That week when my mom found out it was a Sunday, I was gonna abort
Oh, okay.
because imagine at a very young age,
Yeah.
my mom was like, "Don't embarrass me at your very young age." I was gonna abort. I remember her grabbing her phone, looking for the parent. What is it? The parent planning hood, and Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
And then she made the appointment for that Friday at 9 a.m. And then the receptionist goes like, bring $500 because your daughter, due to the week she is, the only thing that will help is a dozen of pills.
Whoa.
2 times. And then my mom goes like, and how much is that? She goes like, it's $500. And then mom goes like, where am I gonna get those $500? And I was like, you really want me to abort? And she's like, yes, I really want you to abort because I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to be like other mothers dealing with a 15-year-old being pregnant.
Right.
I was like, okay. I mean, what could I do? I was a minor.
Right.
And then she kept looking for those $500, calling people, hey, can you let me borrow? And then she tells me, you know what? I'm gonna ask Daniel, which is my husband's name. And then he calls him and then goes like, hey, she goes like, hey, Odalys is gonna have to go back to school. And I need $500 to buy her school supplies, buy her uniform, etc. And then he's like, okay, I'll give it to you that Monday. And then here she goes telling this certain lady who had an abortion, not a accidental, not a miscarriage, but where she went to abort. And then she's like, don't do it because I regret it now. She's like, don't. She's like, you know that aborting is killing, and that's like that's one of God's commandments to not do, and you're gonna ruin your life, your salvation. And then she goes like, don't be dumb, you know the word of God. And then my mom like starts bawling her eyes. She's like, you're right. And then but then again, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And then this lady goes and tells my husband. And here comes my husband in defense saying, it's not your child. I know you're the mom, but I want to keep the child. I know what we did was a mistake, but I think we were able to manage it. I know I'm not the first one, and I know she's not the first one nor the last one. And then that's where my mom saw his braveness. Like, this guy is brave enough. He's a responsible guy. And we did not do it. We let it be. And then months forward, they told me it was a girl. He wanted a girl, so it was like a God gift. A God gift for him.
When your mom was kind of like pushing forward the abortion, at this moment she was still going to church. She was still following God at the moment.
So she knew exactly what abortion was, and I knew too. And but she says now, or like the month after she thought of it, she's like, I wanted to do it because of anger, because of embarrassment, because of disappointment.
Did she ever talk about like how was like that interaction in itself? Because we know about what the Bible says,
right.
And here she goes saying, yeah, you have to have an abortion. Did she ever mention anything of that, or how would you interpret it that way? Like at that moment, what were you thinking at the time?
I was like, how are you gonna tell me to abort if you know 100% that aborting is killing a human being who has no fault of anything.
So you were aware as well.
Yes.
But you still were also
Right.
in board with it because you were.
A minor, and I couldn't
Yeah.
do anything.
But you were doing it out of anger.
Right. I was doing it as well because I don't want to, I don't want to embarrass my mom. And I'm young. I'm
Okay.
15 years old.
So you were pretty much kind of just protect the image of your mom.
And myself. Because remember,
yeah.
it was like after my sweet 15.
So you was kind of like you owe her that.
Yes.
That moment.
And I was
okay.
like, you know what? I'm not going to let people talk about me.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and do it. And then I started to like, my feelings started to change. And then I didn't know at that time that having a girl is like healing my inner child. I didn't see it at that point yet.
Mhm.
And then I gave birth. I gave birth March 1st of 2019. My little girl. My mom loved her. Like they say, love at first sight.
Wow.
It's like to this day, they're like close.
And at this moment, you guys were not going to church, correct? Or were you still going to church? Or how was the?
My mom would force me to go.
Oh, okay.
She's like, while you're living in my roof, you're going. But then she also started to be lukewarm.
Oh.
Because she was hearing things about me from different places.
But you guys were still going to the same church.
Yes.
Wow.
And then once I gave birth, I had to stay 3 months. I could not go anywhere.
Right.
And then she goes like, it's time to present your daughter to God. And she's like, I don't want to. I'm like, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, but you have to. I'm like, I know I need to. I know I have to. I know. But I don't want to go to church. If you want to present her, take her and you go. But it's not because I don't want to present her. It's because I don't want to go to church.
Right.
At that time, I was like little by little stopping, not going. And then my mom convinced me. She's like, you have to. I was like, okay, I'll do it just because you're telling me to do so, not because I want to go.
Right.
And then we presented her. And after that presentation, I stopped going.
Wow.
My mom kept going here and there, and when she kept going, she wanted like to force me to go. I was like, I'm not going. If you want, you can take my child,
Right.
but I'm not going. And I stayed. I did not go. I was like turning 16, like for 2-3 years until I turned 18.
Wow. So you pretty much did not step in any church when you were like
Right.
until 18.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And so was him. He didn't know anything of God, my husband.
Oh, so he never went to church with you during like when you guys were a couple.
No, a few times, very rare. But he knew because his mom is the woman's leader. So she also like me encouraged him to go as a young child, but he was more like they call it the black sheep. And he's the only child. So he was more with his grandparents than with his mom. And so he grew his way, the way he lived.
Right.
And little by little, when we started going, like during the time I was pregnant, those few times, he also heard stuff. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to go because people are just not how I expected them to be.
Right.
And so my mom stopped going. We all stopped going.
Wow.
We all stopped going. And that house was like a chaos. It was a chaos. We would argue every time about little things. And he started consuming alcohol at a very young age as well. He was not even 18 yet.
Wow.
And then I was like minding my own business. And my mom, well, what could I say? She tried, but it wasn't the same.
Right. The relationship got broken at that point.
Right, with God. But her and I were getting close. But with God,
Yeah, things were. Okay.
no, we're not okay.
So,
And then when my daughter turned, I want to say 3 years old, him and I separated.
Oh, wow.
Him and I separated, and not many people know this, only a few. Him and I separated for a good, I want to say 2 months. For a good 2 months. And I let it be. And then my mom goes like, hey, we need to start going back to church. I'm
Right.
like, no, if you want, you can go.
Right.
But don't make me go to church because I'm not going to go. And then she started going again where we used to go, where I was raised.
Right.
And she kept going. And then 2 months, we got back together. We talked. He talked with my mom.
Right.
And then we got back together and things were okay. And he was the one who said, let's go to church.
Oh, okay. Look
I
at
was like, no, sir, you can go, but I'm not going.
Right.
And then he's like, come on, let's go. Hey, your mom's friend goes to this church, which was then called Cristo Mi Redentor.
Oh, yeah. At the time we were named that church.
Yes,
Yeah, correct.
yes. And I was like, if you want to go, you can go. And then he texted this sister
Mm-hmm.
and tells her to ask her what day is their service. And then she texts us, this Friday is what is it? What anniversary are we in right now?
We were on the 14th.
We're in the 14 right now.
Yes.
Then I want to say it was the 12th anniversary or 11th, something like that. That Friday, and it's a
Right.
3-day
Right.
companion anniversary Friday,
Oh, so
March.
Okay,
That
so
was our
that's what
first
the first
day.
one. Okay, so talk to me about how was that first moment going to a brand new church?
It was odd. It
Hmm.
was like like I told you, he was the one, hey, let's go to church.
Mhm.
And I'm like, which one? I was like, the same one we went. And he's like, no, let's go to this church. And I already knew a sister who goes there, or like she knows my whole story. My
Right.
mom, like she knows it from like the bottom to now. Like she knows the entire story. And I was like, oh, we're going over there. And she has invited us a couple of times, but
Right.
we already had a church
Right.
where we were
Right.
going to. And then I was like, I'll think about it. He's like, let's go, because this Friday they're having an event. This Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was like, oh no. And then I talked to my mom, and then and I tell her, hey, this, and that. They're inviting us. And she's like, go. I'm like, but I don't want to. And she's like, why? I'm like, what if I get judged? I was already 18 or turning 18. I was like, what if I get judged? They're going to see me as a young child still with a baby. And she's like, hey, you were able to do many things from 15 to now.
Right.
I think you're mature enough to able to manage things, and I know they won't do so. They won't judge you. They won't criticize you. And that Friday came, and I wasn't gonna go. I act like I didn't know anything. He comes from work. He's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Ready for what?" He's like, "We're going to church." I'm like, "Oh, going to church." I was like nervous. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, do I get ready? Do I not get ready? Do I not? Do I go? What do I do? And then my mom goes like, get ready and go. And I was like, how about you? She's like, don't worry about me, worry about you. And then I was like, okay. I got my daughter, I got myself ready, and we went. And when I went there, I started like shivering, like nervous, like shaking. I'm like I feel like I'm home, but like it's like I don't feel comfortable yet. And then as I was hearing the worship songs, I started to feel more comfortable, and that's when that desire of searching God started to grow in me. That desire of starting to sing again by heart started growing in me, but yet didn't want to have a one-on-one relationship to God. And then we went normal. We came back. He goes like, we have to go again Sunday. I'm like, for real? And then he's like, yeah, we have to go again Sunday.
Right.
And the pastor, he texted my husband that Saturday, the following day, that there was another service, the same event going on. And then I was like, tell him that we're not going because it's Saturday. And then he goes like, okay, we're not going, it's Saturday, and it's like to spend family time.
Right.
And that Sunday came, and he's like, same thing, get ready and let's go. I was like, okay, here we go again. I get ready, I get my daughter ready, and that moment I went in, like I could say I went in a little bit more by heart than I went on Friday. And then that's when I was like, I want more. I want more. The people here just feel different. The
Right.
the atmosphere
atmosphere,
feels different. I want more. And then little by little, that desire was growing, but at the same time, I had hate. I hated many people from my past, from my childhood. And it was like, okay, in order for me to serve God 100%, I have to forgive.
Right.
I have to love. I have to break chains that are still there, present. And then I let it be. We went there, maybe lukewarm because we weren't even married yet.
Right.
And we were still in sin. We kept going, and the pastor goes like, "Hey, you need to get married. You need to get married." He tells me, in administration, the Lord wants to use you, but in order for Him to use you, you have to obey what He has commanded you to do, which I already knew it was
Right.
marriage. I was like, but I have to get married, and I don't want to get married because I'm afraid of being humiliated again. And my daughter started growing, and I kept seeing her as an opening, as a way to heal my inner child. So like I was like, he was like, let's get married. I kept postponing. I was like, no, let's wait. I'm not ready. He was like, here, let's get married. I'm like, no. Our pastor, who is Pastor Elvin and Sandra Cano from Cristo Mi Redentor, I started to see support, not from them, but also from the members. Like, hey, come on. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a weight off. Like, wow, I didn't know this actually existed.
Right.
Because, like, I had an environment of criticism, of judgment. So I was like, wow. Like, the pastor over here is telling me, come, keep coming to church.
Right.
Encouraging us to keep going. And members, too. My daughter in our previous church, she didn't like going to the children's classrooms. Each time we would take her there, she would start crying, screaming.
Right.
And now little by little she started going. And it's beautiful to know that there's people who don't criticize you but also help you lift up. Like the Bible says, it's better two than one, because if one is weak, the other one can lift them up.
Exactly. Amen. In your previous church, you said that you were receiving so many criticism, but was that criticism previous when you were pregnant, or how was like the lack of support? Because if you say that, as you know, of course, you know, when your pastor, you know, find out that you were pregnant, he, you know, unfortunately as it is, he say those words that they could have been phrased a little better,
Right.
A lot better. But how does that environment before you were pregnant, like how was that support when you were in the worship group before?
At our previous church.
Yeah, at the previous church, correct?
Okay.
Before you were pregnant.
We received criticism, but not towards me. It was towards my mom. Because they also found out what happened in my childhood, because it was a big deal also.
Okay.
Because my mom, that's the moment where my mom was able to get her residential, to get her documents.
Residency, yeah.
Yes, that one. And they will tell her, hey, it's your fault, because I know he doesn't treat your daughter, me. He doesn't treat her like that. Look how he treats them here, like a good father figure. And then I was like, there was like that hate towards members as well.
Yeah, because he was showing the loving father figure outside, but then in the house he was this monster.
Opposite. Yes.
Got it. So they're kind of like judging. It's like, how can you do that to such a good man, but they didn't know what was going on in the background.
Exactly.
Oh, got it. So probably that's the fear of you kind of like say, oh, they're going to judge me again because they don't know what's going on in my personal life.
And it happened. The worship group only, I want to say from the whole entire worship group, only one.
Wow.
One person helped me. And she was the only one who, because she also sinned in her marriage. She's like, you know, the same thing, not the same thing, but something similar happened to me.
Right.
And look what happened. The mercy of God has reached me, and because of him, I'm back in the worship group. Because she was also in the worship group before she made her sin. She committed what she committed. And then she's like, if she did it with me, if he did it with me, he can do it with you. As long as you have a heart that's fully open and willing. And she's like, don't give up. You're not the only. She was the only one who gave me encouragement.
Right.
And the others, forget about it. They're like, you disappointed us. You
Wow.
disappointed your mother. You ruined your life. You're not gonna be able to go to school.
Yeah.
You said, because they knew as a child I wanted to be a nurse or be in the medical field. You're like, you're
Got it.
never gonna reach your goals,
Right.
your dreams. And then like that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
But like I tell you now that those words made me showed them the opposite, like
Opposite.
prove them wrong.
Right. So it was that mentality. It's kind of like say like, I'm gonna prove you wrong,
Exactly.
and I'm gonna shine through this. To now, starting on the new church, this new adventure, and you saying that you were receiving the support and kind of like seeing the opposite now. You were seeing the new environment, and you were seeing like this love or support that you were unable to that you were not seeing in the other church. How was that? How was your walk at that point? Because let's say that you actually never accepted Christ from the heart.
By heart.
So how was that walk into the moment that you reached saying, okay, I think I accept you, Jesus, as my Lord and Savior? How was the walk?
The willing of wanting to sing again in the
That was the-
worship.
that was
like my how can I say it?
Like
The-
that was the motivation.
Yes, but this time different.
Mhm.
Not to sing just because I want to sing,
Right.
but sing because in reality you deserve
Mm-hmm.
being worshipped.
Right.
And from there I started like having this love,
Mhm.
receiving this love that I did not receive from a father figure. And it's beautiful. Like I can't even explain it, because like not many people expect me to have this kind of testimony.
Right.
They expect me to have, for those who know me, just might expect me
Mhm.
giving my testimony of being just pregnant at a very young age,
Right.
but they do not know
Everything.
my
that-
childhood,
Right,
like
right.
where it all started from. And this is what I've like been like not wanting to say, because it's like, oh my god, like it's more in detailed, it's more strong.
Right.
You gotta like know how to say it. And even when you guys told me, hey, let's do the podcast, I'm like,
Right.
what am I gonna say?
Right.
How am I gonna express myself? How will I say things in a right way?
Yeah, in the respectful way, to not
Exactly.
like expose any other people
Right.
to hurt them and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, it is hard after all the hurt that you're experiencing, not just from like, your mom's, couple at the time, and also the church from not being able to support you that way. It's not really easy, as you will say,
No.
and it's not easy. And honestly, I never heard it before, and this is my first time, and I'm like, wow, that's
Right.
crazy. That's insanely crazy, because I grew up in the church as well, but since coming from my parents that they were kind of like they were always been in the worship group and whatever, so they
Yes.
raised me the same way. It's very interesting
To
to see
different
different
point of views.
It's a different point of view, yeah. But how were you dealing with that church hurt though at the same time? Like, how were you managing that at the same? Because you said that you wanted to serve and you want to worship God, but you said that you still withholding that.
Yes. I was still holding it, not only from the church hurt, like you
Mhm.
said, but also to this human being,
Right.
my sibling's father.
Yeah.
I didn't really care more about the church hurt. What
Yeah.
I would say that 100% affected me was him.
Your childhood.
Yes, because from him, I want to say from him, because it was the enemy. The
Yeah, for sure.
enemy,
He
like I told you at the beginning, he was like every weekend he would, at the moment I was the only child, he
Mhm.
would take me to the zoo. He would take us out far away for weekends and have fun. He was the opposite of what he
Right.
turned into. And it was mostly him. Like I started having hate. Like I imagine at the age of 8 years old.
Right.
Let's backtrack. I would say, by the age I'm 18 or old enough,
Right.
I want to kill him. because of what he has done to me. But at the same time, I wanted to kill myself because it was pointless living a life like
Right.
this. Like, why am I living this?
Right. Right. And how did and you said that you were holding this hatred towards your siblings.
Yes.
How was that process of healing? How was the process to say, okay, it's not them, it's just a mentality thing that I have to
Right.
deal with?
My mom, she goes like, there is no need for you to hate them. There is no need. You know. And she's like, you got to remember how you tried to defend them many times from him not hitting them but hitting you.
Right.
That's something strong for you to do as an older sister, and
Yeah.
not many people do that. And yes, he may look a lot like his father, but
He's not him.
It's not him. The total opposite of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you gotta heal, you gotta love them. And that's when I was like, okay, they're my only siblings. We're five children, but the two older ones, I was not raised with them. They were raised back home in Guatemala with my grandparents.
Right.
So I'm like the first U.S. citizen,
Right.
along with them. So I was like I consider myself the first child here.
Right.
And so it's like, it's just y'all three.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all may not be from the same father, but you guys are from the same mother, and along with the same father in heaven.
Right.
And then things went getting better with them.
Right. And to this point, you still haven't accepted Christ. It was just kind of like that slow process of healing, or the forgiveness that you decided to say with your brothers. Was that happen before or after accepting Christ?
It happened before.
Okay, so you were pretty much taking healing.
Yes, by every step that I was taking.
So how was the day that you accepted Christ?
How was the day? Good question. Like I say, I did not want to get married. The worship leader, now, he goes like, I don't remember if it was a Thursday or it was a Friday. It was a Friday. He goes like, I see in you like a faith, and I see you up here. And I'm like, wow, the Lord just talks to people without knowing.
Right.
And then, but the only thing you need to do is get married. Once you're married, you can come here, like, welcome to the worship group. I was like, marriage? And same thing with the pastor. Like, God would talk to me through him. And then, like I told you, he's like, I want to use you, but you're just holding it. You're not doing what I command you to do. And you won't be blessed like that. And all I want to do with you guys is bless you. And marriage was like that key word, marriage. And I was like, do I really want to get married? Like, I kept thinking it since day one. And then I go like, okay, I'm going to get married. I'm going to take that step. And my mom goes like, you're sure? Because she's like, it's a responsibility. It's not like now you guys are just...
commitment.
It's a commitment. You guys are just like together now with no commitments. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then we did it. And the moment we got married is like the moment I accepted Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow.
Because it's like, God, I am now obeying your word. I am now getting married in honor, not only for me, but for you to work within us.
Right.
That moment when I got married is that moment I accepted Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow.
Through my marriage.
Through your marriage. And then after that,
the following week, I received a message from the worship leader. Hey, welcome to the worship group. Come this Thursday. It was October 22nd, because 21st is my brother's birthday. 22nd of 2022.
Wow.
He's like, welcome to the worship group. I'm like, wow. Incredible.
Right.
How I'm now again back where I was at first, but in a different...
What? In a different way.
In a different way, with a different heart. And that's when I started going that first Thursday.
Yeah.
And I remember like it was yesterday. And that's when I would hear preachers say you got to forgive.
Right.
If you don't forgive, you still have like a chain
right
within you. I was like, I have to forgive. I have to forgive. And I already knew I had to forgive the moment I got married. And I was like, I have to forgive. You know, I started to let go things. I started to heal little by little. I was like, I have to forgive, but I am scared to forgive. Like, I don't know how to forgive. How do I forgive? Where? When?
Right.
How do I tell this person I forgive you without me knowing I didn't do anything?
Right.
And it was only them. How do I
Right.
like express forgiveness? And a few months went by. The church hate started healing.
Right.
I started to have new friends at our church now.
Nice.
Started receiving a lot of support, and when I see the members from the church, I like nothing. I go, hi, God bless you, how are you? And same thing with the pastors. I saw them a couple times, like nothing.
Wow.
It's like if God like knows, like he like if you tell me now what they did, if it hurts me what they said. No, it doesn't, because it helped me. It helped me a lot, and I feel like it had to be said.
Right.
It had to be said. So, where was I?
The moment you said you gotta forgive the person.
The moment I gotta forgive. Okay. Months went by, and my brother was about to turn. Almost a year went by, and my brother was about to turn 15 or 14. 15, and my mom goes like, "Hey," he calls him. "Hey, let's meet up. I need you to help me." And I was like, "This is my chance. That I can't. This is my chance."
Oh, she called his
father.
His father.
His
Okay,
father, yeah. I was like, I have to. This is my only chance. If not, if God comes today, there's no way I'm getting saved if I do not forgive. And I was already in the worship group, but that thing was like still there. Forgive, forgive, forgive. And we went to the Bank Chase, the one in San Lucie West,
Right.
where Starbucks is.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then I saw him, and then he was talking to my mom. I stayed in the car, and my brother, and then they started talking, laughing, and I'm like, I didn't feel hate. I saw him in a different way, and I started remember the good things about him. Like, he was nice at first, and when he wasn't a monster, he was amazing. He would like spoil us, but then again he would,
Right.
yeah. And then my mom and brother went inside the car. I told my mom, "Hey, I'll be right back." And I get down. And then before he even hopped into his car, I was like, "Hey, I need to speak to you, David." And he's like, "Yeah, what's wrong? What happened?" I'm like, and I already had like a knot in my throat. I'm like, "Oh, God, help me. Holy Spirit, help me, talk through me, because I don't know." And then I remember saying, "I love you. I really do. And I don't, if I ever did something wrong to you, please forgive me. And I forgive you for whatever you did, for all the things you did to me." And he starts crying. And I started crying. And then my mom goes like, "What's wrong?" And then my brother was like, "What is he doing?" Like, because they were scared.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Don't worry. Just stay in the car and leave me alone. Let me talk." And then they go like, "Okay." And I just see my mom crying. And then I'm like, God has a purpose with you. Just don't let it go. I know you're away from him, but please come back, because it's the only way we're able to be happy.
Right.
It's the only way we're able to feel freedom. And then I remember he's just crying and like sobbing. And then he goes like, I've always loved you like if you were my child. Maybe the way I was raised was not the right way for me to treat you guys the same way.
Okay.
If I would have probably been raised in a different way, I could have treated you in a different way. But I've always loved you and always seen you as my real daughter, even though you don't have my blood. I'm like, it's okay. Things happen for a reason,
Right.
This has helped me a lot. It has helped me believe. Not only it has helped me trust in men in a different way, not being afraid of them. Help me grow, help me be more mature, be strong, be very, very strong at a young age that many people are not at a young age. This has helped me a lot. And then he's like, well, I appreciate your words. I'm like, come back to the path of God, because you know what it is. He's like, one day. And we left it like that. I forgive him and I forgave him. and we went on. I felt free,
Yeah,
like 100% free.
and you felt that weight off your
Oh
shoulders at the
yes,
time.
and I remember I was like crying, and I told my mom, you have no idea what I feel, and she's like, yes, I do,
Mhm.
because I also forgave him. I was like, I'm able to sing, to worship God freely without knowing I have to forgive.
Right.
I already did what God has commanded me to do. Now
Mhm.
here it's my turn to give it all to Him with all my heart. Like, truly give myself to Him. Not only myself, but to my daughter.
Mhm.
And that's how I forgave. It took
Yeah.
years to forgive.
And now here you are, still in the worship group,
Here I
still
am.
singing and leading as well. And honestly,
Yes.
it's been quite a beautiful testimony. It is crazy because I never expected for you to have all of this. And I guess at the same time, we truly don't know what people actually going through, and
Right.
it's amazing to
Right.
hear this. And it's a good motivation for all of those that maybe they're going through the same thing. And now that you're talking out loud, it's kind of
Mhm.
like say like, whoa, I can actually find that forgiveness as well.
Right.
Because people may be hurt throughout many different occasions, many different ways, and yours happened to be that the church, and also the one guy that was supposed to be your father figure, the ones that supposed to be there and act as a dad, did quite the opposite.
Right.
And now hearing that you were able to forgive and have this weight off your
Right.
shoulders.
Right. I've never had a father figure ever.
Mhm.
So I don't know
Right.
having a father figure. But now that I have a girl, what I never
Right.
wanted, it's like also a gift from God,
Right.
because I'm able to give my daughter what I did
Right.
not have.
Mhm.
I'm able to actually guide her in the path of God's
Right.
with a happy family,
Mhm.
a happy her own father that she has,
Mhm.
who she loves with all her heart.
Mhm.
And it's amazing how now I can know and backtrack how God has always had his love over me. He always protected me without me knowing he had protected me. And now I understand what this and this happened
Right.
for this reason.
Exactly.
And like I said, I'm able to now heal my inner child through my daughter. Like she plays at home freely, and seeing her play, although she makes a mess, it's like it's like it's like
Right.
me and me within her. And like when she asks for stuff, it's like, yeah, let's go buy it. But like I
Right.
try not to spoil her.
Right.
But the
right.
one that does is my mom. So it's a gift from God. And now
Right.
serving the Lord, it's amazing.
Right, because you're able to see it through your husband, kind of having that interaction with your daughter, and that's how it's helped
Right.
you heal.
Right.
That's amazing. And honestly, thank you for sharing it, and I appreciate your testimony. Now to close it all off, I know that we talk a lot about it, and and just hearing this testimony has been very beautiful. Do you have anything to say to any of the youth or anybody else that is, that may be going through the same thing, or maybe they're going through some rough time? Do you have anything to say to them?
Yes. Do not give up. Do not give up. It doesn't matter how many people tell you you're not able to accomplish it, you're not able to reach your goals, you're not worth anything. I feel like when you have the Lord present, you're able to do it all. It, how can I say it? You're worth a lot. You're a child of God. Don't let nobody humiliate you. Trust in the Lord. Whatever you're going through and you don't understand now, whether it's like me, physical abuse, rough childhood, maturing at a very, very young age, just trust the process and know that the Lord has a blessing at the end. He knows why he lets you go to he knows why he lets you go through fire, but yet he will not burn you. He knows why he allows you go through water, but yet he won't let you drown. He knows. So please trust in the Lord and give it all to him. Worship him. Seek him with your whole entire heart. Forgive if you haven't forgive him, because that's like me, like a weight lift. It helps a lot. Breaking those chains, pray, whether it's a spirit like my family, no family members have been forever married. Break those chains. Be the first person who can be the difference for your generation, your first, second, third, so you can bless them, those generations. Remember, if God is for you, who can be against you?
Amen. All right. So to close it up, I want to thank you, Odalys, for your time. I appreciate you for sharing this testimony, a testimony that probably nobody has heard before. I know I haven't. So I appreciate to be open, to tell this, to be vulnerable as well. And no, I just appreciate your time and thank you. And I hope that probably in any other episode we can probably have you and tell more about it because
Absolutely.
I
There's
feel like
more.
I feel like you
There's
have more, but for a time thing, we're gonna keep it up today.
Right. There's more.
So, all right, guys. So that will be it for this episode. Thank you for watching. If you already haven't subscribed, please subscribe and comment and let us know what part of Odalys' testimony touched you the most. As well, keep sharing it with other friends and keep showing us your support. Your support always pushes us forward to make more episodes to share with you their testimonies. And also, who knows, you might be the next one in the next episode. All right, and that will be all for today. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you. Bye. Perfect.
Yeah.